What's up, metalheads? Welcome to the Scrap Metal Podcast, the show for the misfits who've been listening to the same music since high school. I'm your host, John von Frankenstein, and joining me today is my metal thrashing mad co-host, Chris. Chris, I gotta ask you, man, how you feeling?
I gotta say, I am feeling epic.
Feeling epic. Okay, I love this. I love bringing back a word that we all used circa 2010 to 2014 to describe everything. That coffee was epic. My shoes are epic. This haircut was epic. Chris, does this feeling of epicness have anything to do with how you're keeping your heavy metal street cred?
It might have something to do with my heavy metal street cred, maybe?
I was on a streak there. We were hitting for a while.
Yep. But recently I got to visit Epic Universe, the new amusement park at Universal Studios in Florida. And Epic Universe is freaking awesome. I went there. I was so excited. Saw Super Nintendo Land, and it was funny. Nice. We got there, go right to the Super Nintendo world, and you walk through like a warp pipe, and like the warp pipe sound is playing, and you go up like an escalator, and you walk out, and immediately me, my brother, and my parents were all like way like overstimulated, because you walk out and it's bright colors everywhere, stuff is moving, there's music playing, and plus it's one of the most popular parts of the park, so it's fucking crowded. And we're standing there, and I'm like, okay, there's a lot going on. This is cool.
Yeah.
And we walked around a bit, and I was like, we need to go somewhere else. This is a bit too much right now. The lines for all the rides are way too long right now. Let's look for something else. And so we walked around the park, and unfortunately I didn't get to see the Harry Potter section of the park because when I went, the park hadn't been opened for that long. So very busy. Kind of sped through the How to Train Your Dragon section of the park just to go on the roller coaster, which was a really fun roller coaster, but didn't really get to enjoy that park. Like I said, I did return to Nintendo World, and it was cool. I did get to go on the Mario Kart ride, but I think my favorite part of the park was the Universal Monsters section called Darkmoor. Yeah. And there was a ride inside of Frankenstein Manor where it's like Victor Frankenstein's like great-great-granddaughter, Victoria Frankenstein, is trying to get control of Dracula, and like all these classic monsters are like trying to attack you while you're going through the ride. So like the Phantom of the Opera is there, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy is there, obviously Frankenstein's monster is there, and then you're running away from Dracula, and it's all these great like screens and animatronics that look great. I got lucky, the animatronics all worked on my ride. I've heard a lot of stories. People say they go through and the animatronics don't work, but that was a lot of fun. And one really fun experience in Darkmoor was we went into the Burning Blade Tavern, where they sold a signature drink called the Monocaine Mocktail. And Monocaine is named after the chemical that the Invisible Man invented. And I'm sitting there drinking my bright green drink out of like a science beaker or something like that. When a costumed team member walks in, is like, oh, I'm a monster hunter, and like starts like interacting with everyone, and he sees me drinking the Monocaine and like points at it and is shocked. It's like, do you know what that is? And I'm like, it's green, I assume it's an elixir of life. And he's like, no, that's Monocaine. And sure, it made the Invisible Man invisible, but it also made him a homicidal maniac. And then he turns to my brother, who's sitting across from me, who's like, does he seem any more homicidal than usual? And my brother's like, not more than usual. And so then the monster hunter is like stage whispering to my brother, like, all right, when I give the signal, you go for the legs and I'll take out his head. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, I definitely don't hear you guys planning my demise on the other side of the table. And my brother and the monster hunter are like, what plan? We're not talking about anything. And then the guy walked off and gave someone else the same spiel and gave them a hard time. But it was so much fun. It was so cool. The park is great. And even walking around, you can tell that they still have so much more planned for this park. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to go back. Darkmoor, like I said, was so much fun. I know outside, I didn't get a video of it, but on top of the Burning Blade Tavern is a windmill that catches on fire. And so that's why it's called the Burning Blade. But it only does it every like 15 minutes, similar to how like in one of the other Universal parks in Diagon Alley in Harry Potter, the dragon over Gringotts breathes fire every 15 minutes.
Right.
This does the same thing. But yeah, I definitely want to go back. But yeah, Epic Universe, the Universal Monsters section of the park was absolutely phenomenal, and I absolutely have to go back.
That's awesome. I have to make it there. I haven't been in a while. Oh man. I think the Halloween Horror Nights that I did was in like 2016.
Oh yeah.
2017 maybe. So like in the before times.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. I mean, I love Halloween Horror Nights, and like obviously the name, it kind of fits. Like I would love to do that. I would love to do that. And it's funny because I love parks like this because they know how to just have you fully immersed in all of that stuff. You know what I mean? So like you have everything going on. You have the team members, the cast members, whatever they call them, who are like helping you to be immersed in the theme of each individual park. So it's like, you can't have something that's not going to fit in. You can't have something that's going to be opposite to the theme of the particular park.
Yep.
And that got me thinking about opposites in music, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you've got opposites between the look of a band and the way that they sound. Or, you know, band members like Limp Bizkit, you've got a whole like nu metal streetwear section.
Yes.
And then you've got Wes Borland, who's like the fifth member of Mudvayne, who somehow made it into that band. But one of my favorite topics are opposites in song titles. And that brings us to our idea of today's episode, Opposites Attract. We're going to be talking about songs with song titles that are in direct opposition to one another. Just a fun idea that I thought would make for some really stupid fucking playlist. So, Chris, are you excited to talk about how these opposites attract?
I am so excited to talk about Opposites Attract. When you pitched this idea to me, I was like, how the fuck am I going to come up with songs that are opposites? And one of my first thoughts was Metallica's Four Horsemen and Megadeth's Mechanics, because I feel like those songs are opposites in that one is good and the other sucks. And I thought maybe that was the direction we were going in. But the example you gave, and by the way, I'm not going to say which is which. Ooh, I'll never tell.
Clip it.
But as you said, and the example you gave is song titles where the titles themselves are opposites. And I thought this was going to be a challenge, but then once I found the first, they came, you know, fast and furious after that. And I was like, this is, John is onto something. This is going to be a stupid ass episode. I can't wait. So yes, I am very excited to discuss how opposites attract.
These are my favorites because it's like minimal research. We're just going off of the vibe.
Yeah.
And it's a simple enough concept where, yeah, you're right. When I pitched it to you, I was like, oh, this will be easy as hell. I've got two right off the bat.
Yeah.
Quickly come to find I got one of the song names wrong. But anyways, we'll get to that. But yeah, it's like, then it becomes a challenge where it's like, okay, let me find the real opposing force to this song title. So, Chris, I'll let you have the honors of going first. Why don't you give me your first pairing of songs that display how opposites attract?
So one of the first pairings that I found that were direct opposites of each other was Danzig and the song Mother.
Okay.
And the opposite of that, Cat Stevens' Father and Son.
Okay.
I, for a moment, thought about Everclear's Father of Mine, but
okay.
I thought Cat Stevens was a funnier choice. Plus,
Yes.
I love Cat Stevens. I grew up, my dad would play Cat Stevens for me, and I love Cat Stevens music. I think he calls himself Yusuf Islam now or some shit. But it's does that count as dead naming him if I call him Cat Stevens? Am I being a bad person by calling him Cat Stevens?
The artist formerly known as Cat Stevens.
I think he still uses the name Cat Stevens as well, so I don't feel too bad about using
You're fine.
it. But yeah, I thought this was one of the first that came to mind because obviously you've got mother and father, and I was like, yeah, those are obviously opposites. And like I said, we love Glenn Danzig as much as we'll make fun of him. And Mother was probably the first Danzig song I ever heard when the other radio DJ in high school played it for me. And then, like I said, I was scrolling through my Spotify artists and I saw Danzig and saw Mother and immediately thought, oh, the opposite is clearly Cat Stevens' father and son. So this was one of the first that came to mind. And I think what's funny is that, you know, Mother, it's not a fast-paced song, but it is a heavy song.
Yeah.
And then you've got Cat Stevens doing his singer-songwriter thing where it's just acoustic guitar. And this is such a good song. And it has
such a heartfelt song.
And it has the same vibe as Cats in the Cradle, which is why everyone thinks Cat Stevens sings Cats in the Cradle.
Right.
But Father and Son is great. Great use of this song in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 when Sean Gunn's character gives Star-Lord the Zune from Yondu. And like when that happens, obviously there's a joke about like Zune and Star-Lord being so surprised that it holds like 400 songs. But then he plays Father and Son and I'm like, fuck, I fucking love this song. This is so good. But yeah, this was the first thing I thought of, or one of the first I thought of, is Danzig's Mother. Not Danzig's mother, Danzig and the song. Not Mrs. Danzig.
Mama Danzig.
Yeah, not Mama Danzig. The Danzig song, Mother, and the Cat Stevens song, Father and Son.
And they sound so alike one another on each track. It's incredible. You know, truly they are vocal twins, but the song titles are opposites. Oh my God. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. Just make the pairings as dumb as we can. There are definitely some cases where I was like, I could make this dumber. But I tried to stick to metal as much as I could, but this is why I love this show. Because the playlist for this, someone's gonna throw this on and be like, is this fucking Cat Stevens?
Fuck yeah, it is.
For my first pairing, and the pairing that birthed the idea for this episode is the song Soft Spine by Spiritbox versus its polar opposite, Steel Spine by the band Locked Shut. Locked Shut is awesome. They're a new-ish hardcore band from the Midwest, and their song Steel Spine is just it's super, super heavy. The titles themselves are the opposites because both songs are heavy. And Steel Spine kind of like talks about how there's nothing that will break me down. There's nothing that will make me fucking kneel to you. Meanwhile, Soft Spine is talking about someone who just is gutless, is a fucking coward, and is just like basically highlighting for the world to see, like, everyone is going to get to see who you really are. So in concept, they are both in opposition to one another as well. I got to see Spiritbox perform Soft Spine live a couple months ago. That was they are awesome live. A weird thing with Spiritbox live, that was my second time seeing them. Because they don't have any amps on stage, you don't get like that stage volume, which I love. But everything sounds super tight, very, very well rehearsed, and you can tell like everything's well choreographed. Not to the point where they're doing like synchronized headbanging, but just like it's a thought out show. Like we've talked about before, when you're putting on a production of that size, there has to be a level of planning and choreography to it. So to make sure that everything is going as planned. And I believe when I saw them perform this I believe that Courtney of Spiritbox brought out Emma from Dying Wish, because Dying Wish had opened up for them on this bill. And so that was really cool to see the two of them, two female vocalists, just singing their hearts out during this song. So good. But both bands are worth checking out. Both songs are awesome. Both songs will get you absolutely fucking pumped up. And each one has its own part where it's like, this is the sing-along, like, call-out part. That's the part where you're going to fucking mosh to. That's the part that you're going to fucking circle pit to. So I loved that. Although the titles themselves were direct opposites, the feeling behind each song was both pretty similar.
Yeah.
Chris, what's the next choice for opposite attract songs that you have?
So the next two songs I want to talk about were late additions to the list, but were pretty easy to add, and they were both title tracks. The first is Slayer's South of Heaven, off of South of Heaven, and since we're talking cardinal directions, the other opposite song is Burning Witches, The Witch of the North. Okay. And like I said, this was a fast and easy pick because cardinal directions, north and south, seemed like a easy and obvious opposite to include in this list. You know, obviously South of Heaven, classic Slayer song, opens up the album. Was also used, I think I talked about this recently, at a WrestleMania recently. Edge came out to South of Heaven, I believe, being played, which was really cool. Hearing, a Slayer song being played at WrestleMania was pretty fucking cool. And then obviously Burning Witches, technically it's not the opening track. There is like a little intro, but the second track on the album is this title track, The Witch of the North. And Burning Witches, this is probably my favorite album of theirs. It has a thrashier feel compared to some of their other stuff. And I listen to this album all the time. And, Burning Witches, you were just talking about some great female vocalists. Burning Witches is an all-female heavy metal band. Great musicians, great lead singer. And this was just a quick and obvious opposites attract with the cardinal directions. And what is interesting with South of Heaven is I think South of Heaven might also be my favorite of Tom Araya's vocal performances, because I feel like his voice sounded more like he was trying to sing on this album. Right. I think in direct opposite to that is God Hates Us All, where he is just screaming his fucking head off for 45 minutes. But that's a completely different opposition that we were talking about. But I thought this was just a quick and obvious, taking out my compass and looking for the witch in the north, and then realizing that Slayer's South of Heaven is right behind me. So there's a couple more opposites I got for you. Slayer's South of Heaven and Burning Witches, The Witch of the North.
I like how easily that came together for you. Chris was literally like, this just in. Okay, something just came across my desk.
This just in. I am facing north, which means Slayer is behind me.
Like a Marvel movie. He's right behind me, isn't he? So my next choice is
on your left.
I stupidly thought that these song titles were in direct opposition to one another. But it's only because I don't listen to the other band. So the first song is Laid to Rest by Lamb of God, which, quick fact, I was just thinking about it. The first time I ever heard this song was off of an Ozfest sampler. So they had the demo version of Laid to Rest on there. And so like the vocals were a little different, the mix was different, and I believe the See Who Gives a Fuck part was different from how it wound up on the actual album. Yeah. But it was still good enough to get me really I can't believe I just had a stroke in 2 episodes back to back. It was still good enough to get me really pumped up for the rest of the album to come out. So Laid to Rest was like, I knew I wanted to have that one on the list because I thought, what would be a funnier pairing than the song Wake Me Up by Evanescence? Come to find, it's not called Wake Me Up.
No, it's not.
Who titled this fucking song? It's called Bring Me to Life, apparently. Did you guys know this?
Yes.
I don't listen to Evanescence. I don't listen to... And actually, speaking of Spiritbox, they just announced a song. It looks like Courtney of Spiritbox, Poppy, and Amy Lee of Evanescence. And I was like, oh, fuck. Is Spiritbox about to make me like a fucking Evanescence song? And it's... Okay. No one is taking Amy Lee's talent away from her. I'm not saying anything about that at all. All I'm saying was they were fucking insufferable when I was in middle school and high school. And they were fucking everywhere. And for that reason, I could not stand them. As a contrarian, I had to be like, everyone else likes them. I'm going to fucking hate this band. And unfortunately, not only am I a contrarian and insufferable, but I'm also stubborn. So 20-something years later, I was like, I can't be a fucking Evanescence fan now. How fucking stupid would that look? But yeah, here I thought, perfect pairing. Laid to rest, wake me up. That's not what the fucking song is called. Well, but you guys get my point.
What's the song "Wake Me Up Before You Go"?
I was gonna do that. And I was like, no, let's keep it metal. Let's keep it like metal or metal adjacent at least. Would you consider Evanescence metal? I don't know. Do I sound like an asshole even questioning that?
No, that they might have been. I feel like they were coming out around the same time as some like. I feel like people might have called them new metal even though they're not. And right. I feel like it might have been. They're like a hard rock or maybe like an alt metal or like alt rock, something like that.
Right.
People probably call them alternative. I feel like there's also... I really want to go on this tangent. I really want to.
Go for it. Why not?
Because there's the song My Immortal. And
is that the one with the guy from Seether?
No.
Okay.
I mean...
I don't like Seether either. I'm sorry.
Bring Me to Life has like a male vocalist. Yeah, I don't know the guy's name or what band he's from. But My Immortal is just Amy Lee on like a piano. And it's like a ballad.
Right,
and My Immortal, the title of that song is the inspiration for the title of the infamous Harry Potter fanfic, My Immortal, which turns all of the characters into bisexual vampires. Most of the fanfic chapters were spent describing the main character's clothes, which was mostly like corsets and striped socks from Hot Topic. And the main character's name was, I want to make sure I get this right, Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way. I believe the name Darkness had an apostrophe in it between the R and the K. And the last name Way is because of Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. And so I think you have My Chemical Romance, who's this big emo band. And I think My Immortal and Evanescence kind of had that like emo street cred. But this fanfic is such a... It's because there's so many spelling errors, and I'm going to go on an even further tangent of what happened with this fanfic. So I reread it recently because I was thinking about it, and
as one does,
there are, like I said, there are multiple spelling errors.
Okay,
and they're about it that lead people to believe that at some point it started being written bad on purpose. That this was not some teenage girl's authentic attempt at fanfic that just happened to be bad. At some point, it starts to read like satire. Because in Harry Potter, Voldemort's real name is Tom Riddle.
Right.
And in the fanfic, Voldemort and the name Tom Riddle are never spelled correctly. But at some point, Tom Riddle is referred to as Tom Bombadil, who is a character from Lord of the Rings that a lot of people are upset was not included in the movies, because apparently he's in the books, but isn't in the movies, which has me thinking, why would someone who is writing this terrible fanfic just so happen to call Tom Riddle Tom Bombadil, a character who is at the center of fan discourse of another fandom? So, like, this is completely unnecessary for me to talk about, but these are the things I think about when I spend all my time online, is like, why is this character accidentally named Tom Bombadil? That had to be a purposeful choice. I feel like Agent Smith, you did that deliberately, purposefully. Maybe you knew I was going to do that. Maybe you didn't. That's what I feel like right now. But yes, so to bring it all back, because of this stupid ass fanfic invoking the name of a Evanescence song that very much has an emo tinge about it. I think Evanescence has some emo street cred, though they themselves probably not emo.
Right, that was the original question.
So I think, yes, to answer the original question 40 minutes later, I think they're considered alternative rock or alternative metal with some emo street cred.
Bravo, Chris. Bravo.
I'm bringing us back. Watch this. I was just talking about an obscure fucking Lord of the Rings character. I'm going to give you some obscure Lord of the Rings locations, because the next band I want to talk about is Cirith Ungol. And their song, which I think means like Gorge of the Spiders or Mountain of the Spiders in Elvish or some shit. I don't fucking know. But Cirith Ungol and their song Black Machine. The direct opposite of that is Queen and their song White Man. You know, you got black and white, man and machine. These were very clear opposites to each other. Black Machine is a fantastic fucking song. I'm going to keep talking about these songs while John composes himself. Black Machine is fucking great. I love this song. I love the album it's off of. King of the Dead, great fucking album, great song. And then White Man by Queen has some really catchy guitar parts, has a pretty catchy chorus off of their album A Day at the Races, which I prefer over Night at the Opera, which has Bohemian Rhapsody on it, but Day at the Races I love, because I think that also has Tie Your Mother Down, which I fucking love. But yeah, it's once I was going through Cirith Ungol and I saw Black Machine and I was like, oh, gotta go with Queen's White Man, because those are opposites. Black versus white, man versus machine. Like I said, very clear, opposites attract. I also get to bring back Lord of the Rings, which, like, why not? Tom Bombadil, Cirith Ungol, I don't know, Frodo Baggins, and everything else in between. But that's how opposites attract when you got a black machine and a white man.
So coming up with these pairings was way easier than you thought, right?
Oh, so much easier, because then it just became, hey, I know a song that'll be really funny to pair with this.
You know what? Someone compared me to, like, oh shit, what was his name? Orville Shieldsworth? He's an elf in The Hobbit.
I don't fucking know. Look, I might have just talked about a bunch of stuff from Lord of the Rings. I don't know shit about Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I don't know fucking shit. I've never seen the Hobbit movies, never read The Hobbit, fucking never watched. I watched all the Lord of the Rings movies once each. That's it. I don't know fucking shit. I am something else to know about me in terms of hating emo, loving Slayer, and then inspired by Clerks 2, loving Star Wars and hating Lord of the Rings. Fucking Randall's thing, even the trees fucking walked in those movies. I share that opinion. All right? Yeah. So if there's a guy named Morton Shieldsworth or something, I don't fucking know who he is.
So my next pairing for Opposites Attract is Silenced by Mudvayne versus Screaming for Vengeance by Judas Priest.
There you go.
Silence, screaming. For me, it was more so like, okay, what are the easiest pairings that I can come up with? and this was a clear one. So I wanted a different Mudvayne song on here, but I couldn't quite get it to line up unless I used an album name, and that wasn't the task that I gave us.
Yep.
So I tried to stick to the outline and just go with Silenced, because that was an easy enough title to go off of.
Yeah.
And then Screaming for Vengeance. There are a trillion songs about screaming, but being silenced and screaming for vengeance, those are polar opposites. Because you're not just screaming, it's not just screaming in pain, it's not just, screaming out like a death scream.
It's Michael Graves' scream.
It's not Michael Graves' scream. It's never Michael Graves' scream. It will never be Michael Graves' scream. Screaming for Vengeance is just the ultimate scream. And just, it's such a good song. I'm so happy that we did that Judas Priest versus Iron Maiden episode with Andy.
That was a good one.
That was such a fun episode. And if you haven't checked out the Royds Review podcast, check out our friend Andy, hosts that show over there. They watch movies and then they write songs about them. I did such a deep dive into Judas Priest that I never gave the time to before.
Yeah.
So like I'd heard Screaming for Vengeance before that episode, but I gave myself more time to sit with and just appreciate the song. And Silenced by Mudvayne, I was clamoring for this second album from Mudvayne when it came out. I was so excited for it because I loved LD50 so much.
Yeah.
They as of the time of recording, they just dropped a new song yesterday.
Yeah.
Hurt People, which, so friend of the podcast, Metal Mike, texts me and he goes, "Hey, new Mudvayne song. Where is this chorus from? Because it's killing me. It's itching my brain. And I can't tell words. I can't put my finger on it." And I listen to it and I'm like, oh shit, it's more human than human. And it's the same cadence. The rest of the songs are completely, they couldn't be more polar opposite. But the choruses themselves, hurt people, is just more human than human. It's awesome, though. It doesn't take anything away from them. I fucking love Mudvayne. And Silenced was a really cool song because it did they play with the space. It's the notes that you don't play. They play with the space and the silence in the song, and the band is just super, super tight, especially on this album. The production on this album, it's as though everything got honed in a little bit more and a little bit more focused. Yeah, they went a little bit more commercial with something like Not Falling, but not the worst thing in the world. Gave us a really cool song on the Ghost Ship soundtrack. But yeah, that's my third pairing for Opposites Attract. Silenced by Mudvayne and Screaming for Vengeance. Screaming by Judas Priest. I'm surprised I hit that. I've been yelling like this for the last 3 hours. Chris, what's your next pairing?
I thought you could have gone like Dig and like something about being buried alive.
See, so like I felt like that was too similar.
That is similar, I guess.
Digging and Dig, like being exhumed.
Dig.
No, because that's still the same thing.
Or
digging
like
and like laying the foundation.
Or like isn't there a religious song, You Raise Me Up? You could have done that. All right, so what else do I got? Here's another last minute pairing that I had to put together that I don't think this even counts as being opposites, but it was the best I could do under the circumstances.
Under duress.
Yes, under duress. John had a gun to my head and was like, "You need one more fucking pairing." I'm like, all right. So the next pairing I came up with that, like I said, they're not even fucking opposites, so I'm grasping at straws, much like some of us have in the intros recently. I picked Metallica and their song One, and the band Ultraspank and their song 5. Because their numbers, the numbers aren't opposite of each other.
Same, but they're not the same
There's
number.
got to be a song called -1, right? Ooh,
there is. There's a Mudvayne song called -1. There we go. A new pairing has been unlocked.
So we'll call it a spectrum. I don't fucking know. But yeah, so Metallica 1, classic song, obviously you get the machine gun fucking double bass in the middle and the end of the song, classic fucking Metallica song. And Ultraspank and their song 5 is a song that I was thinking about recently because I was looking for old video games to play, and my brother had visited and we were looking through some old video games, and we never owned it, but we were reminiscing about an extreme sports racing game called 3 Extreme, where you could race as inline skaters or skateboarders or BMX riders. But the theme song was the song 5 by Ultraspank. And on the video game disc was a music video that was a performance of the song 5. And so me, my brother, and our neighbor would put on this song and like air guitar in our neighbor's living room while watching this music video, because like Ultraspank was like a new metal band, kind of, sort of. So it was kind of heavy and fun to headbang to. And then, I just figured song title with a number, Metallica's 1 and Ultraspank 5, which also, funnily enough, I think I saw Metallica's 1. I want to say I saw someone make a joke about the Count from Sesame Street having a playlist on Spotify, and it was just songs that were numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so Metallica 1 was the first track, and then they had all these other songs that were just numbers. So I don't know how much they're opposites, but under duress, I was able to come up with this pairing of Metallica and their song 1 and Ultraspank and their song 5.
I love it because you could have been like 1 and 2, opposite numbers. They're not the same number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have gone -1, but you're smarter than that. That's a simple man's choice.
Fucking galaxy brain over here, all right?
You said, what's the furthest I can get from 1, and you said 5.
I could have done 96 Quite Bitter Beings or 96 Tears or
5 is fine.
But you know what?
Who needs more than this?
I had Ultraspank on the mind, and 1 and 5. There you go.
There you go.
And
that's 6, baby. So for my next pairing, I thought of this song. No, I thought of the concept first. And then I said, okay, great. I need a pairing of songs that best illustrates this concept that I'm thinking of. Virginity versus being a hua. And that is Purity by Slipknot and Fucked with a Knife by Cannibal Corpse. And that's it. That's all I got for you.
Fucked with a Knife is a classic. It's because I got into Cannibal Corpse in high school. I buy the bleeding. I'm hearing Fucked with a Knife, and like I started singing Fucked with a Knife, and like started scaring people away because the ending is all like cut her crotch in her ass, I stick my cock, killing as I come, or some shit like that. It's clearly I've listened to the song a lot, but that's a good one. I like that. Anytime you can include Cannibal Corpse's Fucked with a Knife, 2 big thumbs up from me.
Yeah, it was a simple concept. Again, I was like, could I find another song that better illustrates purity or that concept better than Purity by Slipknot? I think not. Just by, again, simply going by song title.
Yes.
Not necessarily the song itself, because the song itself is a whole other fucking spectrum of storied history and lore. But yeah, just the song titles themselves. Again, simple ideas from a simple man. Chris, what's your next pairing?
So the next pairing I want to talk about starts with Anthrax and I Am the Law.
Okay.
And directly opposed to that, I think, is the very obvious The Clash, I Fought the Law. This was something that very easily came to mind when I was looking through Anthrax and I saw I Fought the Law, and I thought, oh, obviously the opposite is I Am the Law. But once again, I think we're on a spectrum, because you have I Fought the Law.
We're on a spectrum.
We're on the fucking spectrum.
And the award for most clippable moments in one episode goes to...
My hyperfixation is the lyrics to Fucked with a Knife. I lost it. It's gone. It's gone. But back to being on a spectrum of how much you are the law or fought the law. Obviously, you have Anthrax's I Am the Law. You have The Clash, I Fought the Law. But in the middle is Dead Kennedy's I Am the Law, which is a cover that changes all the lyrics about, and so instead of I fought the law and the law won, it's I fought the law and I won, and the last lyrics of the song are I am the law and I won. So you have I am the law, you have I fought the law, and in the middle is Dead Kennedys, once again making a social statement about how if you're friends with cops, nothing bad can ever happen to you. So that's kind of the opposites I have, Anthrax and The Clash, a bit of a spectrum of where you are in terms of being the law or fighting the law. And this was something that came pretty easily. Like we've said, I thought this was going to be a lot harder than it turned out to be. But once I found this was another one that was like, oh, this is going to be no fucking problem. I'm actually going to have a lot of fun talking about all these different bands and all these different songs, because obviously I Am the Law, great fucking song about comic book character Judge Dredd, and
one of the coolest fucking designs ever.
So fucking cool. Love Judge Dredd. This song introduced me to Judge Dredd. The 95 movie with Stallone, it's good. You know,
he takes off the helmet.
I enjoy it, but yes, that's the problem everyone talks about. He takes off the helmet. Unlike Dredd with Carl Urban, who is a badass in almost everything he's in, and always entertaining, never takes off the helmet, which is, super important to the character of Judge Dredd. I feel like Judge Dredd and Master Chief in Halo never take off the fucking helmet, which I know nothing about Halo. He might have taken off the helmet. I remember there being a joke because Halo and a Metal Gear Solid game were coming out at like the same time, and people were like, how funny would it be if Master Chief takes off the helmet and it's Solid Snake under the helmet. But yeah, I Am the Law. I Fought the Law is a classic. I listen to the Dead Kennedys version way more than I listen to The Clash, but obviously they're all classics, and I thought this was an excellent way to explore how opposites attract.
I love that. And I like you said, it's all a bit of, there's gradation there.
Yes.
On that spectrum.
Yes.
Not quite as black and white as something's beginning and something ending, right?
Yep.
So much like my next pairing, In the End by Linkin Park, and The Beginning, ... At Last by Black Label Society. It's In the End was such an easy, I think that's one of the songs that I mentioned to you. I was like, in the end and something that's about the beginning.
Yeah.
Was probably the text I sent to you. But yeah, In the End by Linkin Park. Classic song. Absolutely love it. The Beginning at Last, the closing track to Black Label Society's Sonic Brew. And quite possibly still one of their strongest albums. When I was talking about them recently, and just like thinking about how I've not really dug their last couple of albums, probably like the last 3 or 4 just feel like pretty much the same to me. And you knew me in college. I was all about Black Label Society. I still have my Black Label Doom Crew license plate frame. So I still love them.
Yeah.
Still love them. But the earlier stuff definitely does it better for me. Some would even say the stuff from the beginning still lasts. So, again, simple concepts, classic songs, stuff that I love, stuff that I'll always love. Chris, what's your next pairing?
Talking about the end and the beginning, it made me think of it's not what I necessarily want to talk about because I don't think I've ever listened to these songs all that closely. But on the Batman and Robin soundtrack, Smashing Pumpkins have 2 songs called The End is the Beginning is the End, and then The Beginning is the End is the Beginning. And I forget which, but one of them was used in the first trailer for Zack Snyder's Watchmen movie. And so they made use of that song in one of the trailers, and then he used all sorts of great music in that movie because there's so much great music referenced in the comic, and then he used some great music in the movie. Also introduced me to Philip Glass and Koyanis Katsi, which I listened to. But this next pairing I want to talk about, I felt like a mad genius when I found this pairing. Because this was one of the first that came to mind, and I was like, oh, this is how I do this. This isn't something I take seriously. This is something that I do with, the mentality of, I'm going galaxy brain again with this.
Right.
And so I was looking through AFI's discography, and I was looking at their album, The Art of Drowning, because they have the song Days of the Phoenix. And I was like, maybe there's something about like another mythical beast or something. But then I saw their song called 6 to 8. And immediately I knew that the direct opposite of that is Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. And so once I realized that, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the opposites attract. The numbers add up perfectly. Right. And 6 to 8 is a song I've always loved. It's got a very somber sound and then picks up a little bit towards the end. Classic AFI. This was in the middle of their transition of going from the AFI I love to the AFI I maybe not so much love, love a little bit less. But yeah, once I saw this and I was like 9 to 5, and the more I thought about it, I was like, actually, the numbers line up perfectly because it's 6 to 8 and then 9 to 5. So you've got all 24 hours covered. That's not what 6 to 8 is about, but you've got all 24 hours covered. And so I thought this was a very fun opposite to talk about just because I couldn't believe it worked out the way it did when I saw AFI's 6 to 8. And I was like, this is it. I've figured it out. This is going to be so fucking easy now. What I thought was going to be such a challenge turned out to be very easy. So I was very glad I was able to talk about AFI and Dolly Parton in the same sentence.
So everyone's going to ignore the change in quality for my camera. We're going to ignore that and we're going to move on. But this was also, actually, this was all planned to show just how opposite the quality is.
Yes. From the onboard camera
to my offboard one. Chris, besides suggesting that I keep my laptop plugged in next time we record, why don't you give us another suggestion for this episode?
Absolutely. So my suggestion, or I guess pair of suggestions for this episode is Sum 41 and their song Summer, and its direct opposite, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra and their classic song, Wizards in Winter. Once again, just like the cardinal directions, I took the easy way out and picked the seasons, summer and winter. Sum 41's song Summer is a great song, and what's funny about the song Summer is that originally their plan was to include Summer on every single release and just re-record it over and over and over again because it was on their demo tape. It was on their Half Hour of Power EP, and it was on their album All Killer or No Filler. But by the time they got to Does This Look Infected, they decided to abandon that idea, which is kind of a bummer. I would have liked to have heard several more versions of Summer, but whatever. They did what they did. But Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Wizards in Winter, classic song. It's been used in like car commercials. I think the most famous use of it, other than, Trans-Siberian Orchestra performing it, was a house timing their Christmas lights to Wizards in Winter.
Yeah. I remember that.
You know, it's such a good song. I'll never forget. You know, something I love about Trans-Siberian Orchestra is that I remember going to see them live, and you saw a lot of people there that, like, even though they're playing like Nassau Coliseum, I guess since they're called an orchestra, people thought that I guess it might be more of an orchestra when really it's a fucking power metal show. Instead of looking like they're dressed to go to Ren Fair, they're all wearing tuxedos with coattails. Like that's literally the only difference, between Trans-Siberian Orchestra and other power metal bands. And I'll never forget one time me and my brother being like, oh yeah, we're going to mosh during Wizards in Winter. And I want to say the guy's name is Chris Cafferty. He comes out and he's like, this one's called Wizards in Winter. And me and my brother like look at each other and then start like moshing in our seats and like pushing each other and everything. And it was like, yeah, that's what's fun about Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I'll never forget the last time we saw Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I'm standing there wearing my fucking Santa hat because I'm trying to be one of those people now. And standing in front of us is a dude wearing a battle jacket covered in like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest patches. Because like, for those of you who know that this band came out of the power metal band Savatage, like this just feels like the more successful version of that band. And you get to hear that style of music, you know, the way it's meant to be heard. You know, it's Savatage, I feel like maybe didn't get... Savatage wouldn't be playing a hockey stadium with laser lights and explosions going on behind them. But Trans-Siberian Orchestra does. So it's cool to get to see this mix of power metal and classical music, and it's just so much fun. And obviously when you have a Christmas themed song and a winter themed song like Wizards in Winter, the direct opposite is the pop punk classic Sum 41's song Summer.
I love that pairing. It's, again, simple concept, simple answers. It's what keeps the world going. So I was in the car the other day and I decided, you know what? I haven't listened to the band Nile in a good while. So let me throw on their album, Damnation of the Wicked. And I love that album so much. I think that's the album that got me into them. And the song Cast Down the Heretic starts up and I go, oh, this is perfect. If you're casting down a heretic, the exact and polar opposite to that would be an anthem for the heretic. Or the Heretic Anthem by Slipknot. So that's our pairing there. One celebrating the heretic and singing the heretic's praises.
Yep.
And another one written by some dudes that really love Egyptology and are casting down this heretic because God forbid he speak against Ra. So that's your pairing. Again, simple concept for a simple guy who forgot to charge his laptop. I'm so sorry. Thanks for tuning into the Scrap Metal Podcast. The time has come for us to pack up our gear, but we'll be back to rock out with you in the next episode.
Stay metal, everyone.
Good night. And remember to fucking charge your shit before you record.